Today we're working on a really cool project. All these large panels you see behind me are actually the scoreboard from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. They're taking it down and I assume putting a new one up. So these old panels were sent to us to be recycled. Let's take a closer look at them and talk a little bit about how we're going to disassemble them and process them to be recycled. As you can see, we have a pretty large amount of these panels already stacked up, but we still have about 4 or 5 tractor trailer loads still yet to pick up. We're just leaving these stacked up, kind of stored to the side, and as we get time, we're pulling the panels down individually and taking them into our lower warehouse where we are manually disassembling them. I have a couple panels here as an example, flipped over on opposite sides so I can sort of show you how they're made and what they're made out of. And on the actual scoreboard side, you have all these panels of LED lights, and once they're removed in these smaller sections, they basically have these electronic boards on the back. So we are removing these and they'll be sent to an electronic recycler. But most of the metal value actually has to do with the electrical panels themselves and the steel framing. So if we look inside the back of the scoreboard, we essentially have several different types of material. We have the LED boards like I just showed you, and so those will be taken out by removing these screws. And then we also have this copper wire, which we will remove in the process. And then on the backs of the doors, we have a couple of these electrical fans, and these are actually made with an aluminum housing, so these will be separated into a box by themselves. And then we have the power supply, so these will be pulled off and these will be separated by themselves as well. So the LED panels, this power supply, and these electric motors, fans will go to an electronics recycler where they're further processed. The insulated copper wire will go with our other copper wire to a copper chopper or a copper granulator, and then it'll be processed so that the copper can be removed from the insulation. And then as for the actual panel itself, we will remove this steel frame. It's got several bolts on both sides all the way around, and then that will go down to our ferrous side of the yard where it'll be processed through the shear and sent to the steel mill. And then the electrical panels, once everything is removed, are actually made of aluminum. So the doors and the panels are aluminum. And once we remove all the components, they will be clean enough to be run through our baler and then sent to an aluminum mill. And just to give you guys a better idea, I've got a panel set out that we're going to go ahead and take apart. We probably won't take the entire thing apart because that would be boring to watch, but I'll probably pull at least one section of the panel apart, or at least part of that section. And then, like I said, we're separating everything into boxes based on what they are. And obviously we're going to have a lot more of these LED panels because there is a good number of these on each individual panel, but there's only 1 or 2 power supplies and 1 or 2 of the electric fans. So let's go ahead and get the camera set up and see if we can get this panel pulled apart. And once the components are completely removed from the panels, all we have to do is sort them into their correct box. And then those components are done at our facility and they're going to the next step in their recycling process. Those items will go to an electronics recycler who will further disassemble them and further refine them into their base metals and capture the value that way. We just don't do that at our facility, but the rest of the material we will further process. The aluminum, like I said, will go to our baler and the steel will go down to the shear. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop there for the video. I don't want to absolutely bore you guys to death. Essentially, that's the process we're going to repeat for the remainder of this panel and then essentially all the rest of the panels, except we aren't going to do them up here on the ground like I was. Like I said, we'll move them to the lower warehouse where we can disassemble these and have them in smaller pieces and then put them on a workbench so that somebody doesn't have to crouch or stand all day. They can sit down and disassemble them if they want to. So we've had a little bit of a new development on these big aluminum scoreboard panels. We teamed up with a local auto shredder to run a sample of 60,000 pounds of this material through their system to see what it recovered. They were able to recover the aluminum and the steel, but let me show you what was left over. After the material is shredded and the aluminum and steel is recovered, this is basically what we're left over with. It's all the shredded computer boards, copper wire. There's some bare copper in here from the electric motors that have been shredded. And basically this pile is still very valuable because of the metal content. A lot of people would look at this and assume this is just trash, but there's still a lot of valuable resources. There's a lot of copper between this and the insulated copper wire. And then on all these computer boards, you have these little gold connectors. On here, there's some different types of solder and other things that can be recovered. So essentially, we are just loading this material into these Gaylord boxes and it'll ultimately be exported. So this is, as far as we'll process this material, this was not able to be sorted by the system at the auto shredder, but it does still have a significant value. To get this material loaded into the boxes, it's easiest to use the skid steer with the grapple bucket. Basically just get a big scoop of the material and dump it in the boxes. Obviously it's going to make a little bit of a mess on the material that misses, but we'll sweep that up after we're done. And there's about 20,000 pounds of this material total, and we're averaging about 1,800 pounds per box, so 11 or 12 boxes should get the material done. And then once the boxes are full, sort of patch it down with the skid steer, but then we actually bring that weight on the front of the forklift and just drop it down to sort of pack it into the box. But anyways, I just wanted to share this project with you guys because it's a really cool item that we don't see every day, and it's one of those items that people probably don't think about when they think about recycling. We've got our work cut out for us for the next couple weeks to get all these processed and out of here, but we will get it done, don't worry. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any suggestions of future videos you'd like to see, please leave a comment down below. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.